It's that time of year. From trees to toys to cooking, baking, and spending time with family, it's a magical season for many of us. We want to make sure you're equipped with the safety information you need to keep your season merry and bright. No matter how you celebrate, we've got you covered. Stay tuned. Freedom from Fire is up next. Hello, and welcome back to Freedom from Fire. I am your host, Firefighter Kamilah Bayete-Taylor. I'm currently stationed in our department's Fire Prevention and Code Division. Here at Freedom from Fire, we aim to improve your quality of living by giving you fire and life safety information. We also introduce you to our local safety partners and department leaders. This is our last episode of 2024, and we want to give you a comprehensive look at the fire safety information that will keep you and your family safe this holiday season. We have a lot of ground to cover, and I have a fellow fire safety educator with me to help, firefighter Brian Anderson. Brian, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's begin. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been with the PFD, and what is your current role?
So I am a second-generation firefighter. My father served for 26 years as lieutenant, and I followed him. Coming February of 2025, I will have had 25 years with the fire department. My last field assignment was Engine 16 on the B Platoon, and I've currently been the historian curator of Fireman's Hall Museum since 2016.
All right, so you're keeping the tradition going?
Yes.
All right. Excellent. So tell us about Fireman's Hall Museum, what it is, where it is.
So Fireman's Hall Museum is located in the Old City section, 147 North 2nd Street. It was an old firehouse that was built in 1898 for Engine 8, was in service in 1952, and in 67 they wanted to make that a museum. And it's there to tell the story and the history of firefighting, not only in Philadelphia, but about the Pay Department, the Philadelphia Fire Department.
Excellent. And I hear there's a special guest that will be at the Fireman's Hall Museum the next several Saturdays. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Santa came to town last night for the Betsy Ross tree lighting ceremony, and will be at Fireman's Hall Museum every Saturday from 12 to 2 p.m. for free photos.
Excellent. And how can, if people would like to get more information about the Fireman's Hall Museum, how
they can either go on our website, call, or just come down. There's no charge. It's free. And come and visit the history and see Santa and get on the good list.
All right, and that museum is, the address is firemanshallmuseum.org?
Yes.
All right, excellent, excellent. All right, so speaking of Santa, what a great way to segue into our next topic, toys. More specifically, toys with lithium-ion batteries. What are lithium-ion batteries? So
lithium-ion batteries are batteries that can store a lot of energy in a small place, but ill properly used can cause a lot of problems. They can overheat if not properly charged and possibly explode, catch on fire. Usually you will charge them with the proper charger that comes with the device that you bought. I would recommend charging them on a hard, flat surface, something similar to like concrete or tile, and keep them charging in a well-ventilated area and not to block any exits.
Okay, and what kinds of products use these batteries?
You got the hoverboards, the new electronic skateboards. They're similar devices in cell phones now, so you have to be careful and very aware of charging these and where you're charging them at.
Okay, and what should people look for in terms of when purchasing a product using a lithium-ion
So
battery?
properly read the instructions on how to charge it. As I said, charge it in a well-ventilated area. Don't charge it next to anything that's flammable. and charge it with the proper device that it came with, not using other devices that were not affiliated with those products.
Okay. All right, so from toys to trees. This week we held our annual tree tagging ceremony. The commissioner demonstrated the safe way to cut your live Christmas tree, place it in a stand, and make sure it will absorb water. He also encouraged everyone to consider artificial trees. They can still burn, but they are much less combustible. Dry Christmas trees are a major hazard this time of year. To illustrate, let's watch this video from the National Fire Protection Association. All right, so as we were saying, the dry trees are a major hazard. This here is a video of a dry Christmas tree. And you see the spark, and then it hasn't even hit 10 seconds. And the amount of heat that that's producing at this time, I mean, you see how that can be a terrible, terrible tragedy. All right, so in just 30 seconds, that room was up in flames. So let's talk about how to prevent this. First of all, who is allowed to have live Christmas trees in Philadelphia?
So usually single or multifamily dwellings. You cannot have them in high rises or apartment buildings against the fire code. When you pick your tree, you want to make sure that it's healthy. It's not too dry, and you also have to keep it watered in the container that you have it plotted in your residence.
Okay, so about watering the tree, how much water should be in the stand, and how often should you water it?
You would water it about a little more than half of the stand that it's sitting in, and you can see as the water evaporates when you need to add water. When it comes to that, you want to make sure that you have a good, healthy tree. So as we go into selecting the tree, you want to make sure that the tree is not dry, that the branches are flexible enough to hang a Christmas ornament on, but don't break or needles falling off the tree, and that you can see that the bark and the wood of the tree is healthy and stable, not dry, not falling apart. Those are good examples of healthy Christmas trees.
Okay, and what's the proper way to cut a Christmas tree?
That I'm not really sure of.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, we talked about it at the tree tagging ceremony. It's usually a 2-inch cut, and that's to promote the water to be able to the tree to actually be able to absorb the water. Yeah. So now, what should anything else that people should know about bringing home a real tree or a live Christmas tree?
You have to make sure that the tree is watered, and then when you get it home, you want to consider the materials that you're hanging on it and the lighting that you're using. I would suggest LED lighting, then incandescent lighting. LED lighting doesn't get hot. And just remember the steps when you're not home, when you're going to sleep. Turn the lights off, especially if you're going to not attend the area where the tree is lit. You don't want it to be unattended and lit and prevent anything from happening.
Okay, so concerning trees and lights, we'll talk about lights in a little bit. Let's talk about candles. All right, during this time of year, our Jewish community, they're observing Hanukkah, which means candles and menorahs. Also, in addition, there are others observing Kwanzaa as they light candles in their menorahs. This year, Hanukkah starts on Christmas, goes through January 2nd. Kwanzaa is December 26th through January 1st. What do families need to know about lighting candles in their homes?
Well, as we know, candles can be very dangerous when not used properly. I would suggest if you're going to use candles, use them in a well-ventilated area, have them in the proper stand on a flat surface, and not next to anything that can be flammable.
Okay. And where's the safest place to put your Kinara or menorah?
I would say above the fireplace on a strong, safe mantle. You can have it on a table that's steady on a flat surface, not to be knocked over, not where it's a heavily traveled area.
Okay. And so not on windowsills.
Definitely not on windowsills.
We see a lot of that. A lot of people it looks nice in the windows, but probably not the safest place.
Not on windowsills, and definitely not anything that's plastic.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So moving on to lights, all right? There's something else that makes the season bright, which are lights. Let's talk about indoor versus outdoor lights. Does it really matter which one you choose?
Not particularly. They're all about the same. The proper and the most purchased light nowadays is LED because of the capability of being so bright and not attracting the amount of heat.
Right.
But when you're talking about outdoor versus indoor, you have to go through proper safety. You know, if you're using extension cords, not to overload the extension cord, and to properly make sure that those lights are, when in use, you're observed and adequate to the area, and if not in use, to make sure that they're shut off.
Okay, so in terms of shutting off lights, should we be shutting off outdoor lights before bed? What about indoor lights?
Some people leave them on. You know, you can overheat an extension cord if it's not properly used the right way, as well as a AC outlet, whether it's exterior or interior, can generate heat. So I would say for safety practices, turn them off.
Okay, now we talked about extension cords. Christmas tree lights, they often connect to one another. All right, how many lights should people be connecting?
Well, usually an average artificial tree has 3 sections to it, so you're only using 3 plugs that connect them, one to connect to one extension cord or charging device, or directly into the AC outlet. So, you know, I can't see compounding that any more than what it needs to be. That's pretty simple, cut and dry.
Okay. Now, what about older lights? Are they safe?
Older lights are still used today. They do attract and generate heat,
Right.
which the bulbs, that's what can cause problems or cause fires. It doesn't hurt to update, as we would update the newest cell phone, update to the newest lights of today for safe matters and practices for the family.
Okay, now what about if the lights, let's say you have a bulb that's out, bulb here, bulb down here, are those type of lights still safe, or?
Yes, as long as the bulb is still intact. Usually if a bulb is out, it usually comes with a replacement bulb that you can easily swap out for it, but as long as those bulbs are still intact and in place where a kid can't stick their finger in the rectical and electrocute themselves, or you know, it touch anything that can generate heat, they're still good to go.
Okay, and as far as if, let's say if the cord is frayed or anything like that, maybe you try to repair it with electrical tape.
Electrical tape.
Is that advisable, or what would you say about that?
Some small frays you can do, or you could go and get an extension where you can have those lights retracted into one electrical cord that goes into a proper AC outlet or extension cord.
Okay, now is there a way to tell, you talked about the difference between the LED lights, you know, and the older lights that attract more heat. Is there a way to tell which Christmas lights are the safest, other than the LED versus?
I mean, reading the directions on the box, it tells you the wattage, the voltage. It'll give you some range of temperature between the two. So if you compare between the two and do your due research, you should get a lot of information with dealing with that.
Excellent, and they should be UL approved.
Yes.
Should be UL approved.
Yes.
So if you're buying anywhere you're buying from, make sure they're UL approved.
Yes.
So we're going to take a short break, okay? But when we return, actually, when we're going to take a short break while LaSalle student Lucas Alvin gives us a closer look at Fireman's Hall Museum. When we return, we're headed into the kitchen for best practices when it comes to cooking and baking, and how to make sure your holiday plans don't go up in smoke. We'll also take a look at some great gift ideas. Stay with us. There's more Freedom from Fire coming up next.
Housed in an 1898 firehouse, the Fireman's Hall Museum focuses on the preservation of Philadelphia fire history and promoting fire safety. Philadelphia has a deep firefighting history, dating back to 1736, when Benjamin Franklin founded the first volunteer fire company called the Union Fire Company.
You can cross the street without getting hit by a car. You could be a fireman.
The museum is perfect for visitors of any age, with exhibits including the evolution of equipment, department segregation, fireboats, and even a fire safety prevention area where you can suit up like a firefighter.
Men for the fire department. I said,
Located on the second floor is a stained glass window dedicated to all the Philadelphia firefighters who lost their lives in the line of duty. Underneath the window is a memorial wall with the name of each fallen firefighter engraved into it. If money is a concern, no need to worry. Admission to the Fireman's Hall Museum is free, with a $10 donation being encouraged.
Draft allows it to work in close to the
Whether you're a kid or an adult, the museum offers an informative and engaging experience, making it a must-visit for any museum goer in the Philadelphia area.
Welcome back to Freedom from Fire. I want to once again thank my colleague, firefighter Brian Anderson, for joining me today. Before the break, we talked about lithium-ion batteries and decor. Now we're headed into the kitchen. So before we get into safety, Brian, what is your favorite Christmas dish?
My favorite Christmas dish is London broil with mac and cheese and my homemade greens.
Oh, okay. Collard greens, are we talking
Collard
about?
greens that
Okay.
I make with turkey neck, yes.
I love it with turkey, with smoked turkey.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I'd say for me, definitely mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. I like making mac and cheese. I love pumpkin pie. Love eggnog. That's not really a dish, but I enjoy it around the holidays. So yeah, I'm getting hungry. All right. So moving into kitchen safety. What are some of the most common appliances in kitchens that cause fires?
Definitely all your appliances that you plug in, such as your air fryers, fryers, blenders, toasters. This is the time of the year where a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of cooking and baking, so you have to make sure that you're safe and utilizing the cooking ware that you're using, and to make sure it's not around anything that could be flammable, such as rags, towels, or anything like that.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and many fires start that way with rags, towels, even clothing. Sometimes when cooking. So one of the things that's important when you're cooking is to make sure like you don't have any loose fitting clothing, anything hanging that could possibly catch fire. So are there any hazards that people may not think about when they're in the kitchen?
Well, I think a common practice of panic is if you're cooking something, especially in a pot or a pan, and the grease catches on fire, they quickly grab that pan and move it to the sink to put water on it. You don't want to do that. You want to think about suffocating the flames, which you cover the pan. Baking soda or flour can suffocate the flames, and you just want to think about that. I think that's a common panic that people do. The safest thing would be if you're in the kitchen, you have access to the outdoors to move that pot outside until whatever burns out. Don't ever put water on it.
Yeah, it's really good. That's really good. And as we know, fire likes air, right? So suffocating, removing the air, fire will go out. Fire will go out. Excellent. So in case there is a fire, what should someone do? Should they try to put it out themselves?
I would suggest not. If it's a small, it's just in a pan and you can cover it, then I would do that. If you put water on it and then extends up into the cabinets, across the ceilings, I would get out, call 911, allow the Philadelphia Fire Department to come in and do what they have to do.
Okay.
And then go back in the residence.
Okay. Now, what about fire blankets and fire extinguishers? Should people keep those in their homes?
That's a new, the fire blanket is a new trend that people are trending to get now. I've seen some advertisement on that, and that looks like it works for smaller fires. Again, if something gets beyond what's capable, I would get out and call. It's always good to have a fire extinguisher adequate for the type of fire that you're trying to extinguish, obviously.
Now, what type of fire extinguishers would people need for the kitchen?
Just your regular combustible A, B fire extinguishers. You can be used for the kitchen. They come in a reasonable size to extinguish what would be considered a reasonable fire for a resident to try to extinguish on their own before calling for help.
Okay, and it is important for people. A lot of times people get extinguishers and they don't know how to use them, and they try to use them when there's a fire. So it's always important to review those instructions prior to.
Yes, read the instructions.
Excellent, excellent. So let's talk about heating, all right? What are some of the most common ways people heat their homes?
Little portable electric heaters. Again, you want to plug them directly into the wall, into the outlet. Do not use extension cords with those. They will overheat the extension cord, which will lead to other problems. Quite frequently, this is a busy time of the year for us going into the winter time for the Philadelphia Fire Department. So you want to make sure when you have the heaters, they're in a ventilated area, not close to anything combustible, furniture, clothing, and just being safe with how you're operating those. And I would get those type of heaters that if they start to overheat, they'll turn themselves off, or if they're knocked over, they'll automatically shut off. So there are some recent updated safety features to some of these heaters that you're buying.
Yeah, and they're great. I mean, I have a space heater like that myself. So yeah, that's a very good addition. So what are, other than the things you mentioned, are there any additional best practices when using space heaters for your home?
I would only keep them on if you're going to be in the area. Obviously, if you're moving from room to room and you're no longer, I would turn them off. You don't want them to be active and that they're not attended to.
Right.
Again, keeping it in a ventilated area, keeping it on a flat surface, usually the floor. Sometimes people may have it on an elevated area like a table or something, but you don't want it to extend the heat from the heater itself onto the surface or whatever it's on.
Right.
And just being smart.
Right. And UL approved as well.
Yes.
Correct. Yes. All right. Now, what about fireplaces? Anything, best practices or safety things we need to keep in mind?
So fireplaces are still used today, right, with some of our older dwellings. With some of the newer ones, they have gas, which they're just a switch where you turn on or off.
Right.
So with the older fireplaces, I would make sure that you have the fluids open so that the fumes and the gases can escape, and that you use the proper wood or starter log to start a fire, not just putting gasoline or lighter fluid to start a fire in a house. That can be very hazardous.
Yeah, and it's also important to get fireplaces maintenance or maintained.
Cleaned. Yes.
Yes. Now, what about electric blankets? Are you familiar with those, and are those safe?
I've heard of them. I really haven't seen any problems in my history with the department. I'm sure anything that is portable that can be plugged in and generate some type of heat, there is a danger to it. So again, I would read the instructions, do your research, and just be aware of what you're buying and what you're utilizing in safe practice.
Excellent. So we've talked a lot about preventing fires, but in the event there is one in your home, you want to make sure you have working smoke alarms. We're here to help. If you're unable to afford smoke alarms, call 311. We'll come install them for free. You can also submit a 311 request online by scanning that QR code you see right there. If you are streaming or you have DVR, hit the pause button right now, scan that QR code, that will take you to our online form. Also, make sure your family has a home fire escape plan and practice it. Now, also with smoke alarms, something to keep in mind, the newer smoke alarms have 10-year lithium batteries. You may remember, or you may have them smoke alarms right now where you need to replace the battery. Those are more outdated alarms, okay? The ones that have 10-year lithium batteries, you do not need to change the battery. They last for 10 years. And on the back of that smoke alarm, you will see a manufacture date, and it's good for 10 years after that manufacture date. Now, Brian, before we wrap up, I wanted to give you a chance to talk about the Fireman's Hall Museum, or the Fireman's Hall store, okay? Now, I know we have some good stocking stuffers there, so can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So the store, we have 61 stations in the city that service the citizens. So we have patches from those different stations. We sell T-shirts, everywhere from the museum T-shirt or memorial T-shirt to the firefighter T-shirts. We also have books, from kids' books talking about fire safety, and some books that were actually written from some of our retired chiefs talking about their practices and experiences. And so we have a mixture of little toys for kids relating to firefighting, and just the experience of coming down and experiencing the different exhibits and pictures and the culture of our history of firefighting in Philadelphia. It's a great experience.
That's great. Now, can you talk about, because I've seen one of the books, I think, that is there. I've started reading one of the books, Leadership Values book, but can you talk about the two books you were talking about that written by the chiefs?
Yeah, so there's the book by Chief Marcus Ellis, What You Should Know, and it talked about his experience as a firefighter, and he led our department in hazmat and how we became a certified in hazmat with that. And the other book that we have is From Horses to Horsepower, which was written by our historian Jack Wright, which is every apparatus we used from 1871 to about 2017.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent, Brian. Well, hopefully those who are viewing now, when they stop by the museum, they'll get a chance to check out some of that merchandise. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. To learn more about the PFD, including fire and life safety information and job opportunities, visit phila.gov/fire. And if you would like to keep up with our show, Freedom from Fire, look for us on Verizon Channel 36, Comcast Channel 56, and LaSalle TV's YouTube page. Also, as we just mentioned, please check out Fireman's Hall Museum, located at 147 North 2nd Street. You'll get to meet Brian there and learn about the history of the Philadelphia Fire Department. Firefighter Brian Anderson, thank you so much again for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, I want to wish you a very safe holiday experience, as well as for those viewers out there. Thank you again for sharing your insight and discussion with us. And thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful holiday season. Remember, fire is everyone's fight. Stay safe.